The Eastern Conference is wide open. Injuries, namely Achilles injuries, have severely weakened the East's best teams. Tyrese Halliburton tragically tore his Achilles in Game 7, and Herb Simon let Miles Turner walk in free agency. Jason Tatum's Achilles forced new Celtics ownership into a fire sale to duck tax aprons for a season, and Damian Lillard's Achilles tear in the first round and Giannis's obsession with going down with his ship has forced the Bucks into salary sheet hell with not that great a team to show for it. The Knicks and Cavs are the only teams you can guarantee will be atop the East, barring injuries themselves, and like vultures, several middling Eastern Conference teams have pushed their chips in, hoping that this is the year that they can make some noise. And with the Indiana Pacers providing somewhat of a blueprint, if not just hope, that an East run can be magical, we're in for a hot contest. The Magic are my favourites to jump into the top 4 in the East. They low-key had a season from hell last year. Paolo Banchero played 46 games, Franz Wagner played 60, both funnily having the exact same injury. Jalen Suggs played 35, always a super scary injury from him, and Corey Joseph played 50, and that's just too many right there. Despite all this, the team ended the season second on defense according to Cleaning the Glass, behind only the Oklahoma City Thunder. Jamal Mosley is one of the best up-and-coming coaches in the league, and he has been pinned as a defense-only coach, but you try and create an exciting offense when your best three-point shooters are Caleb Houston, Corey Joseph, and the 30 games that Mortis Wagner played. He somehow coached this team to 41 wins before losing again in the first round. That's where the Desmond Bane trade comes into it, and while it was expensive, he is the ideal player for this team. Franz, Suggs, and Paolo are probably secondary offensive initiators, and when one or more are injured, the offense just doesn't have anyone to put things in place. Bane won't fix that himself, but he has sneakily upped his assist average to 5 over the past few seasons, limiting his turnovers last season to 2.4 while shouldering a very heavy load. He's a versatile shooter who can hit threes off the catch or the dribble and will fit right into a healthy Orlando roster, with 4 guys who can all score and handle the ball at the same time. The good thing is, none of these guys are black holes. They're selfless offensive players, barring Paolo at times, but that's fine. His ceiling is a go-to scoring forward. With this starting lineup, and slot in any of the centers you want there, I think this Orlando team can be one of the more cohesive offensive units, with guys just finding the open shot, hitting shots in a variety of different ways, and everything just working. And on the defensive end, Bane was sometimes miscast in Memphis as the wing defender, something that he just struggled to do with his 6'5" frame, good, but tiny arms, no offense. He's joining one of the best defenses in the league, with plenty of those bigger bodies who can push his responsibilities down to guards on defense, and maybe he's going to be limited to just hounding point guards, which I think might be his best defensive position. Also on Bane, for what it's worth, my girlfriend reckons he's the hottest player in the NBA right now. So Orlando might have been a 4 seed last season before they all got injured. They still had the theory of a cohesive offense with that defense to go alongside it, but injuries just decimated their season. So with full health next season, on top of this upgraded roster, a disheveled East, and a couple more assets to still make a trade and upgrade the roster at the deadline, I would go so far as to say that this Orlando Magic team will be in the top 3. Compared to the Orlando Magic, the Detroit Pistons were healthy last year, mostly. They added a bunch of veterans last offseason and had some happy moments in the playoffs for the first time in... you can ask to amuse yourself. In the regular season, the Pistons finished with 44 wins and were 16th in offense and 11th in defense, according to Cleaning the Glass. Honestly, not great total season numbers, but it's wild the amount of sheen a slightly above average season in the East can give you. Cade Cunningham made his first All-Star game and All-NBA team, 3rd, and was the straw that stirred the drink for this team. After Jaden Ivey went down with a disgusting injury, the offense was very focused on Cade, and he ended up finishing 3rd in the league in usage percentage at 36.6%, trailing only LaMelo Ball and Luka Doncic's Lakers minutes. Both of those players had quite small sample sizes to rack up that usage percentage, and Cade was playing a lot of basketball. Bringing in Dennis Schroeder at the deadline helped. He was a reliable backup point guard, and that takes me to the biggest problem with this team moving forwards. The team got worse after the final buzzer. Schroeder, who went to the Kings, God bless his soul, and I wish him the best of luck, was essentially replaced by Karis LeVert, a natural scorer off the bench but not a table setter like Schroeder is. Malik Beasley, who shot 42% on 9.9 threes a night, actually making 319 of them, trailing only 7 seasons all-time in threes made. For those playing at home, that is Anthony Edwards this year, James Harden in 2019, and Steph Curry 5 times. But unfortunately, Malik Beasley, who honestly did a good job betting on himself, actually bet on himself a little bit too hard, and it went from that 1-year deal with the Pistons where he thought he could cash out this offseason to, well, he is in so much legal trouble and it looks really bad that we're assuming that Malik Beasley is out of the NBA now. To fix this problem, Detroit brought in Duncan Robinson on a bit of an overpay, in my opinion, and while his numbers still look good, he hasn't had the same impact as he did when he first burst onto the scene in Miami. He's also a much worse defender than Beasley, which is quite funny to say when you look at Beasley's lowlights. So, as it sits right now, the Pistons didn't really improve in the East, but the East got worse. And I don't see K taking another leap, especially now that he's going to go back to archaic spacing if Robinson and LeVert can't shoot as well as Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr., which, past performance in recent history would say that's true, but look, I've just spent 3 minutes slagging them off, and despite that, there's still a solid playoff team. They're just probably going to be getting jumped by some of the other teams that I'm talking about in this list. When thinking about what to write for this piece, I was going to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo banging his head against the wall with a subpar title contender. But then I remember that's what the Philadelphia 76ers are kind of doing as well. And while the Bucks waived Damian Lillard to make as competitive a roster as they can this season, the 76ers haven't sacrificed any future at all for the president and are actually growing a young core alongside the veterans of Joel Embiid and Paul George. If Embiid and PG are healthy and close to the peak of their powers, or even just all-star caliber, they're, I won't say easily, but what's another word for more easily in this top 4 conversation, but I just don't see them being there. Joel Embiid is probably not going to play more than 60 games for the rest of his career, and that's probably being generous. And Paul George has got his own injury woes, and just a couple of days ago it came out that he had off-season knee surgery. For the Bucks, it's hard to discount Giannis. He has been in the MVP discussion for several years now, and Miles Turner is a younger, worse version of Brook Lopez at his peak and an ideal frontcourt fit, but this team is relying a lot on Kevin Porter Jr., Cole Anthony, and Ryan Rollins to manage the ball handling for what hopes to be a top 6 playoff team, and I just don't think they can do it. Outside of the point guard situation, if Kyle Kuzma shoots as poorly as he did in his 33-game sample size with the Bucks last year, that is a lot of money being wasted for a team with little to no room for error. If Antetokounmpo slips off at all, this team's ceiling falls a long way down. And the pits of that is if he realizes that his situation is untenable and he requests a trade, it's going to get very grim for the Milwaukee Bucks very season. So for about 10 years now, these teams have been absolute playoff staples in the Eastern Conference, and this season that comes to an end, dying in a sputter of play-in appearances. But back to the positives. The Atlanta Hawks might have had the best offseason of any team in the league. They added Kristaps Porzingis on a super buy low deal. They signed the hottest name in free agency in Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and they traded for a premium future first-round pick with the New Orleans Pelicans on draft night. The frontcourt trio of Jalen Johnson, Porzingis, and Onyeka Okongwu is versatile, fun, and if healthy, might be one of the best in the league. Jalen Johnson got injured after 36 games last season, but on that season, he averaged 18.6 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. He was a perfect second fiddle next to Trae Young, and with a shooting 5 in the zinger next to him, their two-man game could and probably should flourish. The only issue outside of health, which is a major issue, is just how good Trae Young is now. His field goal percentage has steadily fallen since his lone All-NBA season in 2021-22. In that season, he had 46, 38, and 90 shooting splits, and that was just 3 years ago. This past season, he had 41, 34, and 88. Maybe it's the lack of surrounding talent and or shooting, and Hawks fans will be hoping so. Trae's still only 26 years old and shouldn't be regressing this much, even as a smaller point guard. If he can get back into the All-NBA conversation and the supporting cast can stay on the court, we could be in for an Indiana Pacers-like run from this Hawks team. A lot needs to go right, but the nucleus is there, and I kind of believe in it. When a team loses their best player to injury or to free agency and then significantly weakens the roster in the offseason, you have to assume that they're going to be bad. But both of these teams, the Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers, might accidentally be too good. It looks like they're viewing the 2025-26 season as gap years until Jason Tatum and Tyrese Haliburton return. And while both of these teams fully control their first-round draft picks next season, so they can take that one-year tank, they might just be too good. Both teams have great coaches, being Joe Mazzulla and Rick Carlisle. They both have great second and third options who can step into bigger roles, that being Andrew Nembhard and Pascal Siakam, or Jaylen Brown and Derek White. And both have very clear identities. Indiana run and pass you out of the gym, while Boston plays stingy D and jacks up the most threes in the league. But the reason against these teams is clear. Neither have great center options at the moment, and both will be looking to address it throughout this season and the next offseason. And that next guy out mentality is great, especially for the Nembhards, the Matherins, the Browns, and the Pritchards. But depth behind those guys is going to get a real workout. I'm a huge fan of Johnny Furphy's summer league play, like any normal human being is, but can he do it for rotation minutes throughout the whole entire season? If so, awesome, so that when everyone's fully healthy, you've got an even deeper roster. But we just have to see it until we see it. But honestly, the biggest reason of all, these teams want to be bad. They want to take a year off. They want to evaluate the young talent on the roster, and they want to have more answers than questions this time next year. And it's going to take a lot of losing between now and then to figure that out. This conference is probably the most wide open it has been for a long time. We're entering with more questions and unproven teams than we ever have before, and it's so exciting. The Pacers blowing open the East gives plenty of other teams on the periphery hope, but major injuries to the conference's best should make them even more hopeful. But enough faffing about, time to put my name next to some takes. The Cavs and the Knicks are almost definitely going to be in the top 4 in the East, all going well. But I think Orlando will solidify itself as a regular season powerhouse. That take obviously requires full health from Orlando, and I should give the same credit to Porzingis and the Hawks, but it's just such a hard ask. I want to add Giannis in here, but if he had an elite coach who has a proven track record in recent years, I probably would, but I just can't see them digging themselves out of a hole with little to no reliable depth. And the chance that Giannis just requests a trade is huge. So the top 4 in the East next year is going to be Cleveland, New York, Orlando, and Atlanta. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Four Room. If you liked what you saw, please give us a like, comment, and subscribe. And while commenting, let me know what you think. Let me know, what your thoughts are on the video, the content of the video, but if there's anything that you think we can do better or worse, let us know. Anyway, thank you for listening.